All right, so let's get into it today. There is a lot happening, and it is coming into a very bullish position for crypto. We're going to break it all down for you. You guys do not want to miss this episode. It's going to impact you in a very big way. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Sponsoring our episode today, of course, is Coinbase. If you're looking at getting into crypto, which now is the time to do it, even if you're just getting started and you haven't even purchased your first Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoin, all you can do right now is go over to Coinbase.com, sign up for a Coinbase account, get a Coinbase wallet as well, and get in the system and start the process, because the future of money is here and things are about to change in a very big way in today's episode. You guys don't want to miss it. $200 in crypto if you sign up using our link, so make sure and do that. All right, the biggest news of the day is this right here. U.S. Supreme Court limits the SEC's authority. This came in yesterday. Authority for enforcing security laws. Basically, this is the idea of the tribunal that was mostly done in fraud cases. That, of course, got overturned. Now it pulled the strength of the SEC back. And furthermore, the Chevron Deference case got ruled on, or at least the opinion came out from the first judge today, and it pretty much sets the tone for what's about to happen with Chevron Deference. Let me play this clip for you and what it means to crypto.
Carl, that's right. This is a sweeping decision by the Supreme Court to overturn what's called the Chevron precedent here.
This decision, which sounds technical, is a major, big deal and is going to change government as we know it.
The reason it's significant is because it has enormous implications for the administrative state in the United States of America and all federal agencies and their ability to interpret the law. What the Chevron precedent was a 1984 case from the Supreme Court which held that in absence of other information, courts should give deference to administrative agencies' interpretation of the law. That gave a huge area of wiggle room for federal agencies to interpret what Congress meant when it passed given laws, if there was any gray area in those laws. What the Supreme Court is now saying this morning in a 6-3 decision is that courts may not defer to an agency interpretation of the law simply because a statute is ambiguous. Chevron, they say, is overruled.
The way that the Securities and Exchange Commission actually interprets securities law, which of course is almost 100 years old at this point and has to be applicable to new developments in the financial system. It really limits the ability of regulators to do their own interpretations. And of course, this is the second day in a row we have seen a blow to regulators. The court also ruled yesterday against the SEC's in-house judges, which will limit not only the SEC, but other agencies and how they try, say, fraud cases internally. Remember, existing securities law has been on the books since the mid-1900s, and they apply it to say things like digital assets, saying that those laws don't need to change or be rewritten. It could limit the ability to do that unless Congress writes more clear laws that can be interpreted directly. It will now be up to the court's discretion.
And Eamon, is the idea that they would have to continually check back with Congress, or is it just up to Congress to kind of micro-legislate all of these elements?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're going through this decision here this morning, and we're going to see if the Supreme Court is giving any guidance here. But, I mean, one option would be that Congress has to go in a detailed way and detail all the stuff that regulatory agencies have been doing between 1984 and until today.
This is probably the biggest announcement that we've seen in the crypto space, because it means that the SEC, the CFTC, the FTC, pretty much every government agency out there that has used the Chevron deference position to kind of determine and also assess what Congress means by their rulings into their own interpretation, that is gone. All of that is gone. So any regulatory, especially from the bureaucrats, this is really what we're talking about, people who are not necessarily voted into a position of power, has changed. And what that means for Congress is a big deal, because it's going to put a lot back onto Congress. This hasn't really happened since the 1980s. So this is going to be 40 years of how Congress is going to have to look at pretty much restructuring how it actually works and presents these bills and laws into action to where the Supreme Court can actually rule in these things. So while ruling creates a new standard for the executive branch, it also requires a shift in how Congress writes laws and resources it requires to do so. So, and I guess in one way, I mean, I'm concerned about this in a sense, because I think of one element that could happen, and that is gridlock when you look at today's Congress versus what was 40 years ago when the Reagan administration, when this was really started to move out. The good thing is that it pulls it back to at least a regulatory body that can issue laws, which means you can lobby, you can present your case, you can go in front of government and start to really get, hopefully, at least a little bit of alignment on different issues all around different categories, including crypto. I think crypto is going to be the biggest one that will be affected for sure. Eleanor Terrett, of course, comes in, two notable quotes from SCOTUS's majority opinion on overturning Chevron. Under Chevron statutory ambiguity, no matter where it is, there becomes a license authorizing the agency to change its position as much as it likes, and an unexplained inconsistency being at most a reason for holding an interpretation to be, interesting terms here, arbitrary and capricious. So this is something, ironically, that puts it right back in the hands of, or I should say, back in the face of the SEC. So a lot of happening. Here's some things too, if you compare examples of the SEC's conflicting statements, this gets back into the whole issue of trying to interpret these kinds of situations. This came in from Coinbase, and this is the problem that is being represented. I think now the Supreme Court has come in and said, no longer, we need more clarity from Congress, which means we're going to see a lot of these cases most likely get dropped. Here, of course, with Scott Melker, huge Coinbase case should effectively be clear of any threat from the SEC. After Chevron overturned, SEC's interpretation of the Howey Test just rendered irrelevant in court. That is huge. So a lot changing. And government in general, I think, is about to change in a very big way. Could slow things down, though. Be aware of that. But it also, I think, will speed up because there won't be a regulation scenario that's being assessed by an agency that just says, nope, that's the way we read it, and we're going to go out and find you and, of course, take you to court and hammer you out of business. The other thing that comes in on this right here, because this is kind of interesting that this case is still moving, SEC formally charged Consensys with violating securities law. This is in reference to the broker-dealer and engaging in the offer of sale of securities through its MetaMask platform. Remember, though, down there in the bottom, you'll see something. This is in reference to the staking programs that are involved here. So I'm surprised that they haven't adjusted this, but it's timing of when this was probably already in motion before the Supreme Court's ruling is the assessment right here. Here, Stuart Alderati kind of talks about it also, that it's spreading outside of this industry, meaning crypto industry that we follow, but it's everywhere. Another court slams the SEC. This is another case, this time unlawfully rescinding a rule on proxy advisory forms without adhering to Administration Procedure Act. This is the thing that was like SAB 121. Remember when that went through and then got vetoed by Biden? So this is a big deal because it's coming from not even the crypto industry, the National Association of Manufacturers versus the SEC. Ripple XRP's CEO says U.S. SEC Chair Gensler will cause Joe Biden to lose the election. I totally agree with this. I think right now Gensler, especially with Deference, with Chevron being overturned, this is a no-win for Mr. Gensler. I think at this point right now, prediction is most likely you've got the roundtable coming up with Mark Cuban, Ro Khanna, going into the White House. Could that be the timing? This is in mid-July, I think it's 11th. Could that be the timing where maybe Biden says, we need to go ahead and take action now and ask Mr. Gensler, thank you very much, it's been an honor. We looked at it and said, hey, maybe it's 700 days out before Gensler gets fired. Maybe that's much closer now. Because remember, this was his full term. This would give him another 706 days. I just don't think he lasts that long. Nate Garassi comes in and says, hey, we have one other good thing for crypto happening, and that is another spot ETF for Solana. This is coming over from 21 shares. I think the reins are off. The investment houses are starting to look at this as an opportunity, and they understand now that the position for getting into not only new ETFs, but innovation coming into the market will start to unleash on what we think will be a huge growth sector. This could be one of the productivity spurs also that starts to lead us into a recovery and not into a recession. Now, granted, we could still see that with macro data and, of course, the problems that we have in terms of, everything from jobs to inflation. But this is all good news. So I think it's going to take some time for it to seep into the markets, and especially crypto markets, to really understand what this means. So you probably won't see much movement, but I do anticipate you're going to start to see key points from different projects starting to talk about this a little bit more. And if you have not liked our videos, that's the one thing you can do to help others learn more about crypto, learn more about blockchain, understand how this innovation could be the future of their own finance. So make sure and check that out and hit that like button right now. It's a great place. If you're not in the Diamond Circle, get in there right now. This is the place where it is all happening. We have additional content over there, more podcasts, all of that. All you have to do is hit the link down below. Follow me out there on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.